Hi, I'm JC Bander on the Learning and Development team. I'm joined today by Diana Stanley, Senior Support Engineer here at GitLab. And today we're going to be talking about Diana's career development. So Diana, could you start off by just telling us a little bit about what your career has looked like to date?
Sure. Um, I think it started when I decided what to major in college. I wanted to do computers, but at, in ancient times, when I went to college, there was no computer science degree at Texas A&M. So I went through all the engineering majors and crossed off all the ones I didn't want, and there were two left: petroleum and nuclear. And so I said, petroleum. So that's how I chose my major, petroleum engineering. I got my degree at the worst possible time. There were no petroleum engineering jobs available. So I went to work for a copy shop for 3 years, typing papers and making copies. After I got tired of that, I sent my resume off to the local petroleum engineering consulting company, which had a lot of people from the university. And I was like, I can type. And they hired me as a research engineer. Turned out they had their own software that they built and sold to customers. So I ended up coming into the computers on the back end, and ended up doing a lot. I was basically the support person in distribution and trade shows and everything. It was really fun. In my free time, I was running an online game called a MUD, and that's how I became a Unix system administrator. uh, so after I got tired of the petroleum engineering company, I ran away to California to become a Unix system administrator, which I actually found this job because I was hanging out on Next talk like chat rooms on Usenet news groups. Um, so I got my job in California. I came here. Um, I was basically running away from Windows, is really what it was. After a few months, the company that brought me out here decided they were going to switch to Windows. So, so I ended up leaving them and going to Sun Microsystems. Um, so the company that brought me to California was like 6 people. It was awesome. I love the small companies. When I went to Sun, I learned a lot, big environments, but I kind of didn't do well in a big company because I everything you get boxed in to one little thing, and I didn't like that. So I ended up going from there to a startup, which was really good. And then they started to grow, and then I was like, I'm ready to go somewhere else. Um, after I left there, I really jumped too soon. I I I picked a company just to get away, and it wasn't really the right fit for me. I ended up getting laid off from that company, which actually was a gift. I was able to pay off a bunch of debt, and then I kind of just sat back and reevaluated what do I really enjoy doing. And as soon as I like envisioned it, that job popped up, and I ended up at an email. It was an email device, MirrorPoint, if anybody's ever heard of that. Um, and I was at MirrorPoint for like 9 years, of which probably 8 years of it the company was dying, but they kept showing signs of life, and it was really good people. I enjoyed. So I started there as support engineer, and I moved to rebuild and release. And then when I finally got sick and tired of it, one of my coworkers said, well, I have these friends who have a company that just got bought by Apple. Maybe you should talk to them. And that's how I ended up on the Siri team at Apple before the Siri launch. So I think that is the crowning achievement in my career. It was super fun. We were like the secret project. So even though it was a huge company, we were like small company in the big company. Super fun. But then after the Siri team started to grow, I'm like, I need something different. I moved to a different team in Apple, and my new manager said, hey, I'm going to put you on this little installation of GitLab and you're going to run it. And I was like, GitLab? I've never heard of GitLab. What in the heck is this? But pretty soon, after dealing with the product and the people, I was like, oh man, I really love GitLab. And I would say after about a year of GitLab running it at Apple, I was like, I want to go work for GitLab. It took me a couple of years to arrange things, but here I am. So, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That's a really cool story that you have. So I am curious if you've had any intentional steps that you've taken throughout your career to get where you are today.
I have to say no. Well, very little. I mean, it really took. I always felt like I would start working on something and I would really love it, and then after a while I'd get bored. And I thought it was something wrong with me, actually. There was a TED talk that changed my life. There's a TED talk about multi-potentialites. And I was like, oh yeah, that's what I am. And it's not a bad thing to get excited about something and really dive into it and learn a lot, and then just like, okay, I'm ready for something new now. So I think what I've found in my throughout everything, it's been sort of just like learning to know myself and understand what's going on in my head and how I'm feeling about what I'm working on. And even if I'm like, I'm starting to feel that feeling like I need something new, I don't know what that something new is until I see it. I've had a lot of problems working with recruiters over the years, and they're like, well, what are you looking for? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll know it when I see it. And it's very frustrating for them, I'm sure. And so it's kind of just like, put yourself in environments where you see a lot of things. And I mean, a lot of it has come from really sort of my social network as well. I have a lot of friends who are working on a lot of very interesting things, and I'll, find out about something and get interested in that. I think every job I ever had came from networking, not from like going out and looking for a job. So yeah, it's know yourself, and don't try to force things, but be ready to, if you see something, grab it and really dive into it. And I guess that's really kind of been my, and it's, there's been a lot of second guessing and not really understanding. It took a long time to understand, okay, this is my process and this is an okay process.
Yeah.
It's worked okay for now. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I think that has a lot of, what you said has a lot of really great advice for people. And I'll see if I can link that TED Talk in the description of the video so people can go watch that if they feel like that might be them as well. But do you have any additional advice for team members who are working on their career development?
One of the things that I found is I tend to, I see something exciting and I jump into it and I go do it. And the more I know about it, the more I feel like imposter syndrome. Like, oh my gosh, because I know how I got there. Like I didn't know anything about it. And I had no fear and I just jumped in and started doing it. And then I start to realize I have no idea what I'm actually doing. I'm just winging it all the time. But so sometimes I still have to just do that. Like I go into something, I'll get a customer call and I'm like, I have no idea what this is about, but I just take a deep breath, go in, and it works. So I think, yeah, don't let yourself be adventurous and don't second guess yourself too much, and pay attention to what you're passionate about.
Definitely. That's really great advice. Well, those are the questions I had for you today. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I think this information is going to be really helpful for team members at GitLab looking to develop in their careers.
I hope so.